What's up, YouTube? It's your boy Mikey Hot Takes, serving up hot takes occasionally. And I am back. First ever episode. We're going to do a long form type video here. We're going to talk about the landscape of New York sports. I know it's been a minute. People have been asking me, what are you doing? Why are you not streaming the games? You're not streaming the games this year. Whoa, what's going on? Listen, people. I'm not streaming the Giants game because I like my health, okay? I like to enjoy my Sundays. It's been a long time. It's been like 3 years since I really got to lock in on the beginning of the season by myself. And if the game's going bad, I could take a deep breath and I don't feel trapped. But I do miss talking to all you guys during the games. So I'm back. I'm going to talk some Giants at the end of this show. So stay tuned to that. We're going to talk a little bit of Jets too. We'll talk football at the end of the show. We're going to start off with the New York Mets. Because what I witnessed today was unlike anything I've ever seen from any other Met team ever. Ever. Okay? I know Met teams have made the playoffs. I know there's been clutch moments in Met history, but nothing like what we saw today. All right? Nothing like what we saw today. And to be honest with you, it's kind of parallel to a lot of Met games this season. If you watch this team, yeah, they never necessarily... If you watch this team this season, they never necessarily blow anybody out. They don't wow you with their offensive talent. They don't make you go, oh my God, this is the best team in baseball. They're going to win the World Series. But what they do have is a lot of scrappy baseball players. This season, they've proven that. Okay? I don't want to hear any negativity regarding a lot of these players anymore. Yeah, I had problems personally. Not personally, but I took issue with Brandon Nimmo. I feel like he gets by a lot of the year. He gets by, and that's just simply not the case after today. Brandon Nimmo has proven his worth. Francisco Lindor, oh my goodness, Francisco Lindor. What can you say about that guy with the hurt back? Comes in ninth inning, big homer, as big a homer as you can ever hit in the regular season. So there's that. But then you go back into the rest of the year. So many ups and downs throughout this year, especially in the beginning, there was a lot of downs. But where did this season turn around? Where's the fork in the road moment for the Mets this year? It has to be when Jose Iglesias and Mark Vientos started playing every day for this team. I think it's like directly parallel. Obviously, everyone points to May 30th. The Mets have the best record in baseball since May 30th. That's all well and good. I don't know exactly when Iglesias and Vientos started playing every day, but I have to think it was around that time because that's when the energy flipped. That's when the fans started getting into the season, everything, towards the beginning of the summer, and now it's carried into a playoff berth. Very, very excited for this team. While you're watching this, who knows? Maybe when you're seeing this, the Mets will have already played a playoff game, which in itself is crazy, okay? So enjoy that. I know everyone's going to expect to win now in the playoffs. I personally am just going to think it's house money. Let's go in with a chip on our shoulder. Let's go in with everybody expecting nothing, and we get something. That's what I want from this Mets playoff run. Let's win a series. Why not? Let's pay the Padres back. A couple years ago, they knocked us out of the wild card. There's no reason for that not to happen. But wow, what a day. Game 1 was one of the greatest baseball games I've ever seen, especially in the regular season. But the stakes were just as high as a playoff game, so you really have to factor that in. But then, Game 2, it turns out a lot of that hype ended up being for nothing because the Atlanta Braves did end up winning the Game 2, and they will be going to the playoffs as well. So very happy for the Mets. Everybody stepped up today. Everybody performed in some way, shape, or form. Obviously, Tyler McGill, solid performance. 3 runs. I thought, he kept us in that game for as long as he could, and it ended up being big, obviously, because you needed every run you can get, winning 8-7. So, tremendous performance. Francisco Lindor, Brandon Nimmo, all these guys, Tyrone Taylor, all these guys stepped up when you needed them the most, and they shut me up today. Any negativity I have in the future, I'm going to remember today and take that for what it's worth. So excellent performance from the Mets. They'll go on to face the San Diego Padres. I'm not sure who the Mets will start Game 1. I don't know if it's been announced. I'm sure it has as the time I'm recording this. It might be Luis Severino, and if it is, hopefully he can break that New York Severino playoff curse, because I know Yankee fans are already saying Severino in a playoff game, not necessarily what you want. but he's been solid for the Mets all year. He's been the workhorse, so you want to give him a chance game one, especially if it's his rest day. So we'll see how the Mets do. Like I said, I am expecting nothing. If we get something, I'll be very excited because you know what? This season has already taken us into October. We got to October. That's all I ask from the Mets every year. Let's go to the last day of the season with some hope, and that is exactly what happened today. And not only did we have hope, they delivered on that hope with a W in Game 1. Excellent all around. What else can you say? Moving on to the Karl Anthony Towns in the room. I'm sorry, the cat in the room, the elephant in the room, whatever you want to say. It's a big trade. I know everyone's here. You probably see it in the headline, but the Karl Anthony Towns trade, obviously Friday night. I got to be honest, laying low this Friday, not really doing too much. Just hanging out, maybe fell asleep for a little bit on the couch, hanging out with the missus. And you know what I did? I looked at my phone at 10:30, and I thought I was being punked. You know, there's so many parody accounts for shams at this point. And the sham wow, I wasn't ready for the sham wow. I wasn't ready for the Shamber alert. None of it, okay? Karl Anthony Towns is a New York Knick. Obviously, you know the trade already. I'm not trying to break news or break the details down, but it's Karl Anthony Towns for Julius Randle, Dante DiVincenzo, and a whole bunch of other nonsense salary filler trade draft pick trash. So, what does this mean for the New York Knicks? Obviously, if you're a Timberwolves fan watching this, you probably shouldn't be watching this. Honestly, I'm not going to break it down too much from a Timberwolves perspective. First, I will say, thank you, Dante. Thank you, Julius Randle. Thank you, Julius Randle. Julius Randle cannot be forgotten in this town. I know if the Knicks go on to do big things this year, people will quickly push that to the side. The fact that Julius Randle kind of brought relevance back to the Knicks. I'm not going to say he delivered a sustained relevance to the Knicks because Jalen Brunson clearly is the guy who's going to deliver that sustained relevance to the Knicks. We're always going to at least think we have a shot when we have Jalen Brunson on our team based on what we saw last year. Julius Randle, however, did give us that feeling like, hey, that one season where there was no fans, coming back from COVID, Julius Randle had one of the best seasons I've ever seen a Knick have. So it has to be mentioned before we go on to the future. Thank you to Dante as well. Dante, probably up there for best one-and-done season in Knick history. I mean, the guy was electric. Playoffs, all that. There's rumors that he didn't like his role. I don't really believe that. I think that eventually, like when you look at it, he would have been the seventh man on the roster, maybe the sixth man. And it does suck from his perspective because he had such a great season last year to get a reduced role. But when you think about how big his role was at the end of the season, if I'm him, I'm like, all right, what am I going to do? I'm going to play 25, 30 minutes, and I'm not going to be as relied upon to score 25 a night, and when I get hot, he'll probably keep me out there. I don't believe that Dante was unhappy. I do believe that it is what it is because Leon Rose wanted Karl Anthony Towns. Now let's talk about Karl Anthony Towns. Have I always been the biggest fan? No. I would be a liar to say that I've been the biggest Karl Anthony Towns fan from the beginning. I have not. Did I love him coming out of Kentucky like everyone else? Of course. Number 1 overall pick for a reason, and he's justified that throughout his career in Minnesota. What does it mean for the Knicks moving forward? Offensively, I am so excited to watch this team play. Obviously, everyone's going to, point to, with Bridges and Anunoby and Tibbs, we should have a great defense. Of course, defense will be fun, and hopefully it'll be good, but you can't. The thing about defense in the NBA, you play 10 games in a row, you can play good defense, be in the right spots for 10 games, and still get cooked. So I don't really, we'll see about the defense. It's more about how they're playing defense at the right time. Because if you remember last year, this was not a good defensive team early in the season. Obviously, they changed their personnel a little bit. They added Anunoby, and the defense became one of the best in the league by the end of the season. So that's what I'm looking forward to. I'm not going to just expect greatness defensively right away. But what I will say is this 5 offensively, when you look at Brunson, Hart, or McBride, I could easily see Tibbs starting Deuce McBride from time to time and making Hart that energy guy off the bench. But who knows? Hart might have justified that starting spot in the head of Tibbs, And we might just want another hustle guy in that starting five who doesn't necessarily want to shoot the ball, because I think the rest of that lineup, when you look at Brunson, Hart, Bridges, Anunoby, and Towns, that's a lot of shooting. That's a lot of spacing. I don't like outside of Boston, you can't tell me there's a team with better spacing in the NBA. And I know that word just gets thrown around a lot with spacing. Let's just clarify what we mean by spacing. There is going to be room to do whatever you want offensively. If you can blow by your guy, there will be very minimal help. That's all that means. There's not going to be a ton of help defenders being thrown at you on drives because you have great shooters all around you. And that is going to change this Knicks offense drastically. Because when you look at it, to start the season last year, or even if you started the season this year fully healthy without making this trade, you would have Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson on the floor. Well, that's two guys that you don't really want shooting a three, even if they're wide open. Obviously, Mitchell Robinson, you will never take a three, even if he's wide open. But Julius Randle, if he's wide open, he might take that three, where he's about a 30% shooter, lower 30% for his career, outside of that one great season. So when you look at it that way, and you add Karl Anthony Towns to the mix, who shot like 42% from three last year as a power forward. So now he's going to be setting screens for Jalen Brunson. He's going to be the main screen setter for this team for a majority of the season. I do not see how this doesn't work out well for the Knicks offensively. When it comes to defensively, I think a lot of people are rushing to the fact that, Towns isn't going to be a great rim protector. Well, let's take a breath for a second, because really the rim protection was non-existent without Towns. So now even if Karl Anthony Towns is 10% of a rim protector, that's better than the 0% the Knicks had walking into the season, and you've drastically improved your offense. Drastically. So you're going to have 4 snipers on the court and Josh Hart, and if Deuce is out there, you can call him a sniper and half a sniper. So you're going to have shooting on the court. It's going to come down to, everyone's pointing to, can you beat Boston? Can you beat Boston? It's too early for me to make any proclamations about that. Boston is clearly the favorite coming into the next season. Everyone and their mother will say that. You'd have to be kind of crazy to dispute that. You got to beat the man to be the man. We haven't seen anyone beat this Boston 5 yet. So until we see that, no one should pick against them. That being said, I think this is as good as you can do in this tax structure with the way that the CBA is set up and the way that the rosters are constructed. I think this is as good as you can get for a 5-man roster offensively and defensively in this day and age. I mean, obviously, there'll be better teams. Don't get me wrong. There'll be teams with more star power. But if you're trying to build like a 5-man, everyone on the floor is really, really good and can do everything on the basketball court. The Knicks have tried to do that to the best of their ability. It's clear at this point. Now, going back to my early disdain for Karl Anthony Towns. It's one of those players that's so talented that the 10 to 15% that is not good just sticks out like a sore thumb. And also, facial expressions, body mannerisms, these things matter in New York. So I am a little bit worried. Are the fans going to just jump down Karl Anthony Towns' neck if he comes out cold to start the season? I'm not worried about that in terms of I think he'll perform, but media-wise, personality-wise, spending your whole career in Minnesota, I know he's from New Jersey, but media-wise, you can't just say anything and it'll get swept under the rug in New York. If you say something silly, it'll get blown up and blown out of proportion. So Karl Anthony Towns, welcome to New York. I am very excited. Do I think this makes the Knicks drastically better? Yes. Okay? Do I think that in the immediate term it makes them better? Not necessarily, but you have to factor in the point that Julius Randle, his contract was coming to an end. And I've yet to find someone on NBA Twitter, on Twitter, anybody who likes the NBA casually or likes to make fake trades. Nobody has given me a feasible offer for Julius Randle coming into this season better than acquiring Karl Anthony Towns. And of course, you lose Dante, which you hate to do. And I know there's reports that Knicks did not want to give up Dante for a majority of the summer. And then eventually they were like, well, we're not going to have a center. It's Karl Anthony Towns. We're not going to be able to flip Julius Randle if anything goes wrong. Or if he plays poorly, his value will only tank. So we might as well trade him at his highest peak value when he hasn't played in like 6 months and 6 months, 9 months. And yeah, so the Knicks have a new team. Obviously, the bench is a little bit more shallow. People will point to that. I think the starting five is so good that if you lose one guy for a couple weeks, as long as you have around four of the five starting lineup, and you have Deuce McBride, you should be okay most nights. Or you're not going to smoke the Nuggets and Celtics if everyone's injured, but you might be able to get away with a game against the Wizards if you have Brunson and you have Towns and everyone else is out, or if you have Bridges and Brunson, you could still win a game. So that's what makes the Knicks exciting this year. I'm as excited as I've ever been for the start of a season. Obviously not saying much as a big fan, but I mean, how can you not be excited with a whole new roster, essentially? You still have the captain, El Capitan, newly named captain this summer. Felt like a really long summer, but it really hasn't at the same time. So you know what? Let's go. We're excited. Preseason starts very shortly. I'm expecting at least a top 3 seed from the Knicks this year. But, regular season really won't matter to me as much as long as everyone is healthy and we see those flashes of dominance that we expect from a team that has this loaded of a starting five. All right, moving on. We'll go to the football topics. We'll start with my New York Giants. If you're watching this, if you subscribe to the channel, you might have even fast forward to the New York Giant takes. All right. And if you go to my channel and you find my most popular video, you're probably laughing at me at some point or have laughed at me at some point because of Daniel Jones. My number 1 video coming out of clinching a playoff berth 2 years ago, praising Daniel Jones, basically saying, why can't he be a top 10 quarterback? Do I look stupid? A little bit. I'll stand here and stand behind that. Listen, you can't get them all right. That being said, I do think that people have just gone the other way with this beyond degree. If you look at this Giants season, Daniel Jones has played 3 good football games in a row. Has he been amazing? Has he been excellent? No. Is the margin for error very, very slim with him as quarterback? Absolutely. Can't debate you there. Okay? The guy's not Montana, Brady, Mahomes, all that. He's not Lamar. He's not an elite quarterback by any stretch of the imagination. I get it. Got it. Good. Okay? That being said, do you watch the rest of the league? Do you watch other teams play football? Do you watch some of these other quarterbacks that are getting opportunity after opportunity? There's a good 10 quarterbacks in the NFL that are not named Daniel Jones that easily could lose to him on any given Sunday. Easily. Right now, we're watching the Titans and Dolphins tonight on Monday Night Football. Obviously, Tua hurt, so he doesn't count. But that being said, Will Levis, look at how bad he's played. He's a starter. I know it's year 2 for Will Levis, year 6 for Daniel Jones. I get it, but look at Daniel Jones' early seasons. I still believe in the talent to a certain degree. I still believe in the decision-making to a certain degree, and I still believe that he can win you some football games. And let's be honest, like most of these teams are just trying to win a couple of games. Obviously, you're trying to win 8, 9, 10 games every season, unless you're the Chiefs or unless you're trying to tank. And I do not believe that this is the season to tank. I really don't. You look at some of these quarterbacks coming out. If there was a quarterback that I was just drooling over, I would say, you know what, the Giants need to lose out. We need to get a new quarterback. A lot of these people just saying Jones isn't the guy do not offer a better solution. You can say, oh, just go sign Andy Dalton in the offseason. You say that, but the idea of going into the season with Andy Dalton as your QB1 and no rookie or any type of backup to get excited about is awful going into a season. There's a reason the Panthers decided, oh, yeah, they definitely knew that Bryce Young was not the best quarterback in that room. But they started him to start the season. You know why? Because that's the guy the fans want to see. That's the guy that gets everyone excited and to the stadium. You know who doesn't get you to the stadium? MetLife Stadium especially, Andy Dalton or that type of player, Jacoby Brissett for a year. Okay? And if those guys win you 6-7 games miraculously, all of a sudden you're stuck in quarterback hell forever. If Daniel Jones is as bad as everyone says, we'll have no problem drafting another quarterback because we'll be drafting in the top 5 very soon. Do I still have some hope for the guy? Yes, I do. Do I think it'll happen in a Giants uniform? Definitely not. Okay? We go back to the Cowboys game. It made me sick. I don't blame... everyone points. What made me sick the most is everyone pointing to the Jones missed deep balls. Oh, he missed the guy 65 yards down the field. It could have been a touchdown. You're right, no doubt. Could have been, coulda, woulda, shoulda, could have been a touchdown. You do not act like, as long as he's making the right reads, okay, he underthrew the ball. All right. If you watch enough of these games, there's so many bad passes. You should still be able to win if other players make plays. If you don't have drops on third down, fourth down. If you don't miss kicks or miss tackles or, all this other stuff adds up. Okay? And you put all this emphasis on the quarterback, and Jones is supposed to bail you out. Oh, he's making $40 million, which is like barely anything at this point among starting quarterbacks. So Jones hasn't played great, but he hasn't played awful. I think at very best the Giants should be 2-2. They should have won that Commanders game. You want to say the Cowboy game was kind of a formality down the stretch. They couldn't get in the end zone. Whatever. You could say the Giants should be 2-2 right now, regardless of anything but Daniel Jones. Obviously, Malik Neighbors is a stud. I don't even think I need to address that. If you're watching this, you already know Malik Neighbors is good. I don't have any special information about that. I do want the guy to catch the ball in clutch moments, and I know he will in the future. But we do have 2 key drops on tape in 4 weeks now for Malik Neighbors. Just something to know. The rest of the Giants team, nothing crazy impressive. I mean, Devin Singletary looks good, fumbles. Defensively, against the Browns, they're getting all types of pressure, and then the rest of the 3 weeks, we see no pressure whatsoever on any quarterback. Like, you can't even remember a sack in any of these other games besides the Cleveland game. So, Giants, not expecting much, expecting to be back in that, bottom 7 team in the NFL range once again. Just based on how this first 4 weeks have gone, I do believe Brian Daboll has a good quality of rallying his team later in the year. We saw that last year with Tommy DeVito at quarterback. He was still able to win a few games. So I do think they'll win a couple of scrappy games. They've played good enough to win 3 games at least offensively. Defensively, there's some holes. There's nothing special, but there's also nothing horrible to just start pounding your fist at. So it is what it is. Giants, probably not the main attraction in New York at the moment, no matter what. Now we'll move on. I'll touch briefly on the New York Jets just because I want to get this whole New York landscape talked about on the show on a semi-weekly basis. We'll not lock ourselves into a certain date at this moment, but who knows? You guys like that? Like this video? Hit the thumbs up. If you're still watching, subscribe, all that good stuff. So the New York Jets lost a game this weekend to the Denver Broncos and Bo Nix. And I watched this whole game, and I was just, first of all, I hate when people mention who they started in fantasy, but I started Aaron Rodgers because, you know what? I'm like, it's the Jets' year. I'm not a Jet fan, but it's the Jets' year. The guy's going to roll. He's playing against the Denver Broncos. He's playing against Bo Nix. He's going to have the ball the whole game. Eventually, he'll throw a couple touchdowns. Boy, could I not be more wrong. All right? And I'm not going to just go – I'm not a Jet fan. I'm not going to act like an expert on the team. But what I do want to say in regards to the New York Jets is it's got – Jet fans, I just want everyone to have a cool head week to week. I think this is a wild card team no matter what in the AFC. But I do want to see – like Aaron Rodgers did not look good in the rain. So it's only going to get colder. The weather's only going to get worse. Is Aaron Rodgers going to be able to hold up for an entire season? I know Jet fans are already worried about that. It's not Mikey Hot Takes, not my hottest take right there. But that being said, the rest of the team got to step up. Breece Hall, ton of carries, not a lot of production so far this year. Ton of touches at least. I know a lot of Jet fans already calling for Braylon Allen to get more carries. I mean, can you, like, Breece Hall gets a month and now you want a rookie because he's flat. The flashy new toy always gets more credit than he deserves, I think. But Jets 2-2, should be 3-1. I mean, you can't lose to Bo Nix at home. Robert Saleh taking a lot of heat for that. Yeah, rightfully so. Robert Saleh does not have a ton of credit in this town, so any type of Jet loss is going to be on him. That being said, I mean, it's Aaron Rodgers. You cannot give Rodgers all the credit in W's and give him no demerits in losses, especially to Bo Nix, who he has about 20 years more NFL playing experience than. So it can't happen. It's a tough loss. Obviously, I'm not telling a Jet fan anything they don't know on that one. But I just wanted to touch on it because we're trying to touch all the football in New York, all the baseball. Yankees, they've been locked up for months. All right, so if you're a Yankee fan, you're like, why didn't you talk about the Yankees? I'll talk about the Yankees during the playoffs. The next episode, I'm sure I'll have something to say about them. But right now, it's been smooth sailing. It is what it is with the Yankees. They've always were going to make the playoffs and win the division more or less, and they did that. So we'll talk about that more in the future. Whew. All right. If that wasn't enough, there'll be more. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. And until next time, peace.